Again, very, very interesting, the information that we got in this manifesto, talking about corruption with the government, talking about the real reason behind the drone situation that we've seen, and some very, very interesting information on him, of his history as a Green Beret, and not just a normal Green Beret. Apparently he was a very, very good one. So without further ado, let's get into this story on what's really happening. And we've got this article here, Time to Wake Up. Cybertruck Bomber had several manifesto, warns of drones using gravitic propulsion. So apparently he's saying that only China and the US has the technology, and China is preparing for an attack. And he was actually in a reality TV show and actually won this competition about 12 years ago on the History Channel. So let's go ahead and watch this.
It's a reality show that pits teams of elite soldiers from around the world against each other.
Is that too loud, or is the volume good for you guys?
Matt and Tim from the U.S. Army Special Forces, better known as the Green Berets.
Matthew Livelsberger and his partner Tim.
So that's him here, Matt Littlesberger.
Tim Kelly, both Green Berets, appeared on the Ultimate Soldier Challenge 12 years ago on the History Channel. They not only won, it wasn't even close.
So again, apparently this guy was the elite of the elite, and we'll get into his manifesto in a moment, but I just want to give you some background history on this guy. Literally, pun intended, he's on the History Channel.
You know, for television, they always try to make it a little bit more competitive, but we swept the whole entire show.
When he appeared on the show, Livelsberger used a shortened version of his name, Matt Berg. So it took
Bit easier to pronounce.
Tim Kelly a while to put 2 and 2 together.
And then I saw a Matt Berg with a older photo of him, and I was like, oh no, dude, I know that guy. And then it just like tore my heart out, because he was a really great Green Beret.
And what was he like?
He was charming, he was talented, he was personable, he was kind, he was all the things that you would expect from a Green Beret.
At one point during the show, Livelsberger lost his cool in the 90-plus degree heat.
I'm about to throw up, man. I got heat exhaustion, man. I need to take the off right now.
Tim Kelly says he hadn't heard from Livelsberger for a few years.
It just categorically does not make sense. From everything that I have heard, he was universally valued by his team, by his peers. I don't understand. It doesn't make sense, and it is just horrifically heartbreaking.
So there's a bit of history on him there. When we saw again the footage of the Cybertruck exploding, and luckily it was a Cybertruck, because apparently if it wasn't, the explosion would have gone into the hotel. We could see even the hotel windows weren't broken. So it was a very strange choice why he decided to use a Cybertruck. But we've also got information here, updates from the Las Vegas police, which I'll play here for a bit before we get into the manifesto.
But with that, just as a preview for as we get information, we're trying to be as transparent as possible. There were a couple pieces of content we thought were important to share for now. One is in the note application. He seemed to have 2 letters. One letter in particular, as you can see here, this is an excerpt from that letter. He says, fellow service members, veterans, and all Americans, time to wake up. We are being led by weak and feckless leadership who only serve to enrich themselves. He goes.
I think that's probably true, but these police don't go over the full manifesto, which I'll go over in a moment.
Goes on to explain a variety of other grievances and issues, some political, some personal, a variety of other things, which we will do our best to release very quickly here. But then there's a second letter where there's some more excerpts. This one seems to be dated after the fact in that notes application. And in there, you can read a couple of the excerpts. We are the United States of America, the best country, people to ever exist. But right now, we are terminally ill and headed towards collapse. This was not a terrorist attack. It was a wake-up call. Americans only pay attention.
Is the stream still going? Are you guys still able to hear this?
The spectacles and violence. What better way to get my point across than a stunt with fireworks and explosives? Why did I personally do it now? I need to cleanse my mind of the brothers I've lost and relieve myself of the burden of the lives I took. I'd like to just also expand on that and understand that these are just...
Awesome. Good to hear. I know YouTube won't like this one, and hopefully it stays up.
excerpts in there. He does offer additional information that is varying on the spectrum in terms of political grievances, issues about the conflicts elsewhere, not here, domestic issues, societal issues, a variety of other things, including personal challenges as well.
So these guys are referring to the manifesto, and on the Sean Ryan show, we'll get into a moment that shows the full manifesto. So obviously, he didn't like what the government was doing. He was going through some personal issues, talks about stuff he did in war that he was not happy with, talked about war crimes, and we'll get into that in a moment.
We are intending to release those initial letters so people can understand the best they can what the person's thought process was at one point in time. However, please understand there is still a lot more content to go through, and that may change.
So let's get into that now. So it says here, the most intriguing, however, is the email he sent to Shoemate, in which he warns that drones seen around the United States over the last month are using gravitic propulsion systems, which only China and the United States possesses. And also something that's happened over the past week, there's been huge amounts of plane crashes. I don't know if it's got any connection with this. We've seen one of the deadliest weeks for plane crashes since 2018. Again, could just be a coincidence, but I just thought that's something interesting to note as well. So Shoemate shared the email on the Sean Ryan show, writing on X, "I knew taking this public would insert me into the glowy boy conspiracy cycle, especially since I'm an intelligence officer." Adding that I had no choice, the dude jumped in my inbox, and when I saw his name in the news, I had little choice but to hand it over to the feds. I knew the FBI wouldn't release it, or at least without an agenda attached, which is exactly right, and I'm glad he was able to show it on the Sean Ryan show. It's good that we're getting more decentralized media, getting away from the mainstream media, because without this show, and again, Sean Ryan was the one that had Sarah Adams on his show 2 weeks before this attack happened, calling it exactly on what was going to happen. So he's doing a great service for the American people here. He says China has been launching them from the Atlantic from submarines for years, but this activity recently has picked up. As of now, it is just a show of force, and they're using it similar to how they use the balloon for SIGINT and ISR, which are also part of the integrated comm system, he writes. So we all saw what happened with the balloon, a Chinese intelligence balloon that went over the US. It took the US over a week to shoot it down. Some people came and said the reason why they did this because they wanted to hack into the balloon to try to figure out who was behind it. But we can see things are escalating more and more with China, because as the economic situation between countries gets more dire, as currencies start to collapse, as economies fall into depressions, countries and leaders are going to get desperate, and we're going to see conflict escalate, and that's what we're seeing now. He says they're the most dangerous threat to national security that has ever existed. They basically have unlimited payload capacity and can park over the White House if they wanted to. He said to Checkmate. And again, we're just going into all theories here. We don't have 100% evidence that it is China, but he said it's basically China and the US. But let's get into this. This is the guy that was emailed this manifesto just hours before he did it, or the day before. And he's got the full manifesto here.
Do you want to read the email?
Yep. So this email came in on December 31st at 10:42 a.m. That is Tuesday. He said, "In case I do not make it to my decision point or onto the Mexico border, I am sending this now. Please do not release this until 1 January and keep my identity private until then. First off, I am not under duress or hostile influence or control. My first car was a 2006 black Ford Mustang V6 for verification. What we have been seeing with drones," he puts that in quotes, he says drones, "is the operational use of gravitic propulsion systems powered aircraft by most recently China and the East Coast, but throughout history, the US. Only we in China have this capability. Our OPCEN, that's Operations Center, our OPCEN location for this activity is in the box below. China
So that's his first claim there, which is very interesting.
Has been launching them from the Atlantic from submarines for years, but this activity recently has picked up. As of now, it is just a show of force, and they are using it similar to how they use the balloon for SIGINT and ISR, which are also part of the integrated comm system. There are dozens of those balloons in the air at any given time. The so what is because of the speed and stealth
I think that's pretty fair to say.
of these unmanned aircraft. They are the most dangerous threat to national security that has ever existed. They basically have an unlimited payload capacity and can park it over the White House if they wanted. It's checkmate. U.S. government needs to give the history of this, how we are employing it and weaponizing it, how China is employing them and what the way forward is. China is poised to attack anywhere in the East Coast. I've been followed for over
That's a big statement if he's right.
a week now from likely Homeland or FBI, and they are looking to move on me and are unlikely going to let me cross into Mexico, but won't because they know I am armed and I have a massive V-bid. Let me pause.
So that just pretty much means pretty much a vehicle bomb.
For your audience, a V-bid, for your audience who has not been in the GWOT for the last 20 years, a V-bid is a vehicle-borne improvised.
I know a lot of people are suspicious about this manifesto. It's okay to be suspicious, but we just have to take every bit of information and see if it does turn out to be true or not. We can't get complacent in this situation.
Explosive device, in layman's terms, a car bomb, what we saw at Trump Tower. So, backing up, he says, I am armed and have a massive V-bid. I've been trying to maintain a very visible profile and have kept my phone, and they are definitely digitally tracking me.
Which I'm sure the FBI has probably seen some of his posts on social media, and that's probably why.
Here's where he gets into the other stuff, and this is where we had to redact the names. Well, your producer redacted the names.
When you watch the full show, apparently these people are still active duty. That's why they redacted the names.
I have knowledge of this program and also war crimes that were covered up during airstrikes in Nimruz province, Afghanistan in 2019 by the admin, DOD, DEA, and CIA. I conducted targeting for these strikes of over 125 buildings. 65 were struck because of civcas, that's civilian casualties, that killed hundreds of civilians in a single day.
This is what they didn't want to play in the mainstream media, the war crimes that went on, and obviously this is playing on his conscience, which could just be another motive of why he did what he did. U.S.
FORA continued strikes after spotting civilians on initial ISR. It was supposed to take 6 minutes and scramble all aircraft in CENTCOM. The UN basically called these war crimes, but the administration made them disappear. I was part of that cover-up with use.
Which is referring to the Trump administration. That's probably why he did this out of Trump Towers.
U.S. FORA, an agent, redacted, of the DEA. So I don't know if my abduction attempt is related to either. I worked with redacted IO staff on this as well as the response to Bala Murghab. Redacted commander at the time, redacted can validate this. You need to elevate this to the media so we avoid a world war because this is a mutually assured destruction situation. Then he says, for vetting, my LinkedIn is Matt Berg or Matthew Livelsberger, an active duty 18 Zulu out of 110, that's 1st Battalion 10th Special Forces Group. My profile is public. I have an active TSSCI with UAP, USAP access.
What is USAP? Do you know what that is?
I don't know what that is. But I checked his credentials on LinkedIn. So that was the first thing I did. I went to his LinkedIn page.
We all know he was a Green Beret.
First thing I noticed was all of his bona fides were in place. He has all the UAS training from USASOC and everything else. And so I said, okay, at least the guy knows what he's talking about with drones. That was a very rough dig into the guy. But my issue was I couldn't validate or verify any of this information. And I told him that. And how I responded to him was in a subsequent email. I said, this is obviously a very big deal, but I don't have anything to verify this information with. Talking about gravitic propulsion systems without evidence just makes me another UFO talking head.
So what do you think, guys? Do you think that this technology is real and that he's right? Or do you think he's just a crazy conspiracy theorist? Let me know in the chat below.
Like, I'm not going to go on my social media page and start talking about UFOs and anti-gravity systems and everything. I don't know what you're talking about. I can't. And he said, can I get on Fox News Contact on Signal as well as Sean's show? Hegseth would be good too. That was his last message to me.
Yep, all right. So let's keep on digging here. This is the full manifesto here. You can see if you want to go to Sean Ryan's X profile, he has it there. And I'll put it on the screen now if you guys want to read it. But there was also footage of him charging his Tesla Cybertruck. So see, this is in Las Vegas, Nevada. Island Times reckons it's true. Phil reckons may not be real, but he believes it. Yeah, that's right. We're just trying to figure out what was his motive. He obviously believed it. Obviously is something that's concern for American citizens at the moment with all the drone sightings. So that's just pretty much him charging it there. Now we can see that Clark County Sheriff Kevin told reporters on Thursday that the Cybertruck bomber Matthew Livelsberger, a 37-year-old Green Beret, you can see there's people saying he shot himself and then it blew up. Some people are saying that it was remotely driven there, but Elon Musk went and tweeted that the autopilot would not function unless it detects an attentive person in the driver's seat. This is leading to more theories on whether it was him that did it or if it was done remotely, and it's a psyop or it's a false flag event. So it says here, Tesla vehicles have a cabin camera that monitors driver attentiveness and provides audible alerts when full self-driving is engaged, and the camera is mounted above the rear view mirror. So some people are calling for them to release the footage if they do have it. Like other autopilot features, full self-driving requires that the driver pay attention to the road, their surroundings, and other road users. Now, Tesla said the cabin camera does not require full visibility of the driver's eyes in order to monitor attentiveness, and the system is still active, for example, if the driver is wearing glasses. Now, if the cabin camera does not have clear visibility of the driver's hand and arm locations, full self-driving periodically displays a message reminding the driver to apply sight force to the steering wheel. So this is all very worrying, everyone. I don't know about you. If you want cameras inside your car looking at your eyes and monitoring everything you do, and they'll be able to remotely turn off your vehicle or on your vehicle at any time. But that is something that's coming in the future. So what's apparent from Tesla's description of how full self-driving works suggests any scenario with Livelsberger when he shot himself, it would have had to be once it stopped. This is what it's according to them saying. And so X users should call on Musk to release the cockpit camera footage and any other recordings. So there we have it of some motives behind this Matt Berg, what he was called in this History Channel reality TV show. He pretty much thinks that we're going to be attacked by China. This is his theory. He's not saying it's true or not. Only time will tell. He's saying that China's behind all these drone sightings. He's saying that we're heading to World War III and that their government politicians are pushing us into World War III. And he obviously had a very guilty conscience with all the war crimes that was committed in 2019. And it seemed to be politically motivated at Trump because he was the one in charge at that time. But all things aside, we have to address the situation that's happening, that things are escalating in the US. Geopolitical tensions are escalating, and we need to be prepared. And you need to be prepared for whatever situation that could come. Hopefully, this was just a one-off, and we don't have more events like this happen. But it is something we have to stay vigilant about. So what do you all think about this? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next video.